Okay folks, so today we're talking about The Biggest Loser TV show and what exactly is it like behind the scenes as a contestant. So the application process started with a written application, very lengthy, detailed application form that you had to submit. Then after this, I think a couple of weeks after we applied, we got a phone call and it was a telephone interview again. I think that was about maybe 40 minutes for each of us that were taking part individually. So again, quite in depth. So for us, that happened kind of May, June time. And it was a couple of months before we heard anything more following on from that. Of course, I took part or applied with my work colleague and my housemate at the time, Will, who won The Biggest Loser UK that year. So at the time, we were waiting like a couple of months to try and hear what was happening after a telephone interview, and there was very little info coming through. But then we got invited to a medical screening session in London. I think it was like University of London or something like that, on a Saturday for a full day. And that involved a whole range of medical testing in terms of fitness and health and psychological. So we had to meet with a psychologist who would rank us red, amber or green depending on our kind of mental state and our mental strength for what the show would throw at us. The support from that psychologist was available right throughout the show and was also available for a year after the show finished as well. Another part then of the application process was having to go to a studio in West London and doing a TV casting call type thing. So this was all about what were you going to be like on camera, what was your personality like, and that was a few hours, maybe 2 hours long as well. So there was quite, like, that whole process from start to finish was probably from, jeepers, maybe April through to the end of August, September. And I think it was after the casting call piece where you went in and did your bit to camera and got interviewed on screen, and that was a few weeks after that then that we got a phone call saying that we were successful. And I remember I was in work at the time. I was working in ING Direct in Reading, just west of London, and sitting on my desk, the phone rang, and I remember going out to the stairs and basically the production assistant saying, "Yep, we'd love to have you." I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Both myself and Will were huge fans of the show. Now granted, we used to sit and watch it eating pizza and ice cream, but still. So basically, when we were told then that we were accepted, we had to try and get all our stuff in order. At this time, my family didn't know that I had applied. My sister, I think I only told maybe a week or two before. So once we got accepted, I then had to try and explain to my family what was happening, that I was going to be going on to this reality TV show that was about weight loss, and try and gauge their reaction. And Mum was like, "Oh, but I get sad when people don't lose enough weight that they feel they should, and blah, it's sad." But they were fantastic. They were really cool. With work, I was working two jobs. I was working as a radio presenter and I was working in ING. So I had to request up to, I think it was like 9-10 weeks off work. And that was unpaid leave from the jobs. And no, The Biggest Loser did not pay us to go on the show. That's a common question from people as well. The one thing that they did cover is rent and our household bills. So essentially that we weren't coming out to a load of debt. So then once we got accepted, we had to submit a load of forms and stuff like that, look through the contract. The contract was actually for 5 years. And that was 5 years from the screening of the last episode in the UK. So that contract only expired on the 28th of February this year. And it included a whole host of things, including like working with brands that you could and couldn't do, media work, all that kind of stuff. Now, because I had quite a strong media background and the PR company were lovely, I was quite lucky in terms of the restraints on me. So I pretty much had kind of free reign to engage with TV, radio, and brands that I kind of wanted. And the PR company were comfortable with that, thankfully. I think because they knew I wasn't daft and I wasn't going to go off and do something stupid like with some daft brand or product or something like that. When the evening that we got brought up, we had to get the train up to Rugby, which is kind of near Coventry, and we stayed in a hotel there for the night. Night we got weighed and we found out that we were going to be the green team, and we had our phone that night. So I was able to text my family. They were the only people that knew. None of my friends knew what I was doing or where I was going. I literally vanished off the face of the earth. Like, we had a confidentiality agreement that literally only the people that needed to know had to know. So only my manager and work and my immediate family, that's all. Even my best friends didn't know where I was going. It was literally a case of Paddy is here one day and he's not here the next, and he's gone for weeks. So anyway, we stayed in rugby, we got weighed in, found out it was the green team, and then the next morning we were brought to Stanford Hall, a stunning house. It's a big mansion of a country house, where we ended up staying. So the accommodation was lovely, really, really lovely. It was class, actually. On day one, we had our phones taken off us. Any connection with the outside world was completely eliminated. We had no radio, no TV, no newspapers, weren't allowed to speak to people that were not connected with the show. So it literally was a Biggest Loser bubble that you were in until you were eliminated or until the end. Thankfully, I lasted the full 7 weeks. We knew that the trainers were going to be Richard and Angie Dowds. Didn't know who the presenter was going to be. We were trying to guess who it might be. And anyone that knows me would know I'm a huge fan of Davina McCall. So when Davina walked out the front door of the house, I nearly died. I'd always said that if any woman could turn me straight, that it would be Davina McCall. So when I seen her, I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I think the camera's caught. Because looking back at one of the clips from the start of the show, the reaction when Davina walks out, it's like, I don't know, I just won the lotto or something. So then we got into our typical days. So a standard day in the Biggest Loser house was as follows. Up at 6 o'clock for your first workout, which was then at 6:30, and that was for 1 hour. Then you come home and you made breakfast. The gym was a makeshift one out the back of Stanford Hall, purpose built for the TV show. Then after you had your breakfast, you would maybe do some quick interviews, some quick snippets for the cameras that they could get the bits and pieces they needed, then back to the gym for an hour and a half. After that hour and a half, again all being filmed, we would back to the house, you'd make lunch. Yes, all the meals we had to make ourselves as well, by the way. So it wasn't a case that, the meals were made for us or anything. We had to do every single bit of cooking ourselves for every meal. Again, around lunchtime, you would maybe do some more bits for camera. Like about the session that you'd done, any drama that was happening, that kind of stuff. After that, you go back to the gym for your third session. You would do another hour and a half of training with the trainers. Then usually you'd come back home for dinner. Again, you'd make that yourself. And then after dinner, back to the gym for another hour. So for 6 days a week, you were doing 5 hours of training. That was 2 1-hour sessions a day and 2 1.5-hour sessions a day. Training was predominantly cardio and functional training, so things like your TRX, your kettlebells, like circuits. The session first thing in the morning at 6:30 and the last one at night, you didn't have the trainers on site for, but the trainers were there for the middle 2 sessions, for the hour and a half one. Except for on a Sunday, actually. The Sunday, you had to do your own training on the Sunday. We didn't have the trainers on for any of the sessions on a Sunday. And then on Saturday was weigh-in day. So again, you'd be up early, maybe 7 o'clock on a Saturday. We got our hair and makeup done every Saturday. Our clothes would have to be meticulously clean. So the care team and the production team around us would be coming in, making sure all our outfits were ironed, or t-shirts, and that there was no fluff, none of that kind of stuff. And filming would revolve going over. We'd do a few takes off the weigh-in pieces. And also then the eliminations. And actually, the weigh-ins, you get weighed the morning of the weigh-in, and that's when they record your weight. When you stand up on the box for the big fancy weigh-in, that's not actually a scales. It's just a box. You've already been weighed in that morning, and they've all the data in the system. So yeah. And the idea of that obviously is that they'll have all the information then for the scripts that's needed around the weigh-in. But yeah, filming each day after your dinner and your last session, you could be doing another 2 to 3 hours of filming a night for the camera. Saturdays as well, because it was weigh-in day and elimination day, there was huge amounts of filming that day, like hours and hours and hours and hours, but there was no workout that day. But every Saturday, we pretty much got to spend the day with Davina McCall, so that was awesome for like 2 months or whatever. And she was fantastic. And she honestly is just as nice and as genuine as she seems on the telly. She was so lovely. Like, she'd even ring us, say, during the week to find out how the week was going in the house. She'd be on to the trainers, wanting to know how her sessions are going, all that kind of stuff. Like, honestly, one of the loveliest, most genuine people I've met is Davina McCall. And like, as some people probably know, like Angie Dowds, who was a really, really close friend of mine, done died from suicide after the show. Angie was what got me through The Biggest Loser, you know, having her as my trainer. But when Angie died, again, Davina, like this was way after the show and everything, but like Davina was so lovely in terms of like ringing me and texting me and stuff, making sure that I was okay. And you know, none of that's for cameras or for show. That was just, yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely person. Anyway, so back to Biggest Loser. So that was our kind of training. 5 hours of training, 6 days a week, okay? In terms of the nutrition and the food then, I mentioned like we did all our own food prep. We would also do our shopping list each week as well. Obviously, if you put something unhealthy on it, they wouldn't buy it. But doing all our own food, at the start we had a couple of sessions with the nutritionist who was with the show. And she gave us a meal plan with loads of recipes for us to try out that we could mix and match and that. But the idea more so was for us to get comfortable with cooking and to understand about different foods and stuff like that. But like in terms of calories, like people often say, oh, you must be on like ridiculously low calories. But like I was on just under 2,000 calories a day. But where the main calorie deficit was coming from was the amount of exercise we were all doing. Given how overweight we were, like our calorie requirements just to maintain could have been 4,000 or 5,000 for some of us. So yeah, in terms of what we needed to maintain our weight, it was considerably lower, but nothing like dangerously silly. So what we do is breakfast for me would usually have been either eggs or granola. I loved granola, so I had granola pretty much every morning, no added sugar granola and skim milk. And I had that religiously, I'd say nearly every morning for the majority of the 7 weeks that I was there. Lunch would usually be some soup that we would make or a salad, something like that. Dinner again would have been our protein, so you know, usually for me that was chicken, and then my veggies, including potatoes and all that kind of stuff. And then my snacks would have been nuts or some fruit or stuff like that. But it was up to us to manage all our food intake ourselves then. Although we had a care team around us 24/7, it was up to us to determine how much we ate, like day to day, and what we prepared and all. And then we had like our herbal teas. We didn't have normal tea or normal coffee, I don't think, because they were a diuretic. So what that means is it can like force your pee out of you essentially. And some people could use that as a tactic to try and lower their weight, I think, or something like that. But yeah, so there was no restriction or like, oh, you can only have so much carbs or anything. There was none of that, okay? It was all good, healthy, nutritious food that we prepared ourselves. We went through buckets of water a day because the training that we were doing and because you get into that routine then if your body needs it. And you start to see things like your skin clearing up amazingly well, like through the water and the exercise and the good food that you're having. Did have rye bread and ham and low-fat cheese, but that was taken off us. And I think we had proper tea at the start, but again that was taken off us by the trainers because they were hardcore. But yeah, so that was the food. So prepared all ourselves from scratch. There was plenty of carbs, none of this crap about cutting it out. Then there was some days that we did challenges. So we went off site and went somewhere, like we went to the Spinnaker Tower and we went to a swimming pool and we went to an RAF base. Went to Cyprus to do like a mini Olympics or triathlon type of thing. But throughout all that, any time that we left the site, we had like literally like bodyguards making sure that we didn't interact with the outside world and that people didn't tell us what was going on either because they didn't want us getting distracted. And I remember we went to Twickenham to the rugby stadium to do a task there to meet like Danny Kerr and a load of the rugby players, so I didn't have a clue who they were. I was just drooling. But one of the members of staff working there let slip, oh, wasn't it great about the Chilean miners? And we were like, what are you talking about? And it was the day that the miners got released or freed from the mine that they were stuck down. And this was mega to us to find something out from the outside world. But the person that told us then was like, oh shit, was I not meant to tell you? And we're like, no, it's fine. It's that newspaper you have. Give it to us as well. But then, what else? So we did all that for 7 weeks I was there. Then we came home. We had our normal day-to-day lives to live. I had 15 weeks at home. I was back working 2 jobs. However, I still maintained going to the gym pretty much twice a day, 6 days a week. The Biggest Loser arranged for us to work with a local trainer in Reading, Richard Jones from PTU, just outside Reading. At the time, he was a trainer in Pulsate Gym and one of the most amazing people that I've had the honour of working with and have supporting. And for 15 weeks, Richard pretty much dedicated himself to us, to supporting us and giving us our training sessions, at least one every day. But it was still me deciding to get up out of bed, and it was still me deciding to go after work in between 2 jobs as well, folks. And that was 15 weeks, including all over Christmas, everything. Everything. So it is doable, even when you're busy, you just have to find time. That brought us up to the final, which we recorded about a week and a half before it aired, so about the middle of February, and we're brought to a fancy hotel in London. We got our makeovers, we got our hair done, we got our makeup done, we got pedicures, manicures. The spray tan artist who does like all the A-list celebs in America, he was over doing other work for ITV. We got him. James Reed, I think is his name. If there's any kind of beauty people, I'm sure they'll know who I'm on about. Lovely, lovely guy. So he did all our spray tans for us. Then we did a run through with Davina, and when she seen us for the first time, was like, "Oh my god!" None of the finalists were allowed to see each other, so you didn't know how the other person had done, and none of the contestants were pretty much allowed to see any of the finalists. We literally had people stationed outside our rooms, making sure that we weren't like trying to sneak into each other's room, seeing what the other person looked like. And then we went to record the final. It was probably the most nervous I have ever been in my life, standing out the back of the studio. Although we'd done the run through, this was in front of a lot of the audience. My family were there, and they hadn't seen me in a couple of months. And I remember standing at the bottom of the stairs at the back of the studio, and all I could say was fuck, 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 over and over. And they were filming it for ITV online, and I was thinking they're not going to be able to use any of that because I couldn't say anything else. Just my nerves were at me so much. And actually, the clothes, they had picked out my clothes for me, but there was a blue suede jacket that I adored that I wanted to wear, and the stylist was fighting with me. Like, no, I just want you to wear a cardigan. And I literally said, please, I love this jacket and I want to wear it. Please, 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 please. I'll take it off at the top of the stairs. So they agreed that if I would take the jacket off at the top of the stairs as soon as I came out, that then I could wear it. And that was the compromise we came to. So it was my turn to go out, walked out, and oh my god, just the applause, I was just completely overwhelmed. Although on TV it only looks a few minutes, there was stopping and starting, and I remember I was down holding Davina's hand and she got all teary-eyed. There was one bit where Davina got all teary-eyed, and I was like, Davina, are you crying? And she's like, Patty, don't stop, and she was squeezing my hand so hard, and I think I have the picture, and it's just me looking at her like that thinking, oh, how nice. And it was just a crazy night. I came runner up. Will was the winner, so it was a great clean sweep for the green team. And that was like that night that it aired. Then I was with some of my friends in Reading. We were watching it. It was so surreal. I was on Twitter for the whole night. I think the night of the final I got something like 4,000 new followers on Twitter, which was just mental. Shame we didn't have Snapchat then, but anyway. And then just the response from people was unreal, like unbelievable. I travelled home to Ireland the day after the final aired because I had some TV commitments in Ireland, and the final aired in Ireland a few nights later. But I couldn't get over the response from people. Like just walking around, people coming up to me on nights out, people coming up to me. I was just like, wow, mental. Like even still when people come up to me like, are you that fella that was on that show? I'm like, oh my god. I just like, oh, it's really nice, thank you for watching and I appreciate you coming up saying hi type thing. And then after it aired in the UK and in Ireland, I think it also aired in like Norway or Denmark somewhere, and Australia and Dubai, I think it was. Because I started getting messages from people in Australia and it was either Norway or Denmark, I can't remember. But when we were in Dubai, people were coming up to us. It was just mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. You're on the other side of the world and people recognise you. Madness. And then after that, I moved home. As I say, I started studying my course to become a personal trainer. Actually, in the space of a week, I had moved to Dublin. I started my personal training course and I met my boyfriend that I'm still with. Ah, pass the sick bucket. I know, but hey, it's true. But yeah, so that was a long summary of The Biggest Loser. Hopefully you found it interesting. Any feedback? Let me know.